Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Daniel Hood Roofing. Folks, there have been so many storms in this area. It's summer like none other. It's like living in Florida, except you don't get the beach. All kinds of storms. And if you think you have storm damage to your roof, you need to call on those claims quickly. Or the insurance company, boy, they'll really fight you if you've waited. So get in touch with Daniel Hood Roofing. Give them a shout, danielhoodroofing.com, or give them a phone call. They can give you a free estimate, take a look, and give you a decision on whether or not you got storm damage or not. danielhoodroofing.com. He's worked on so many roofs on this set, I can promise you, everybody here believes in him. You should too. Daniel Hood Roofing. All right, let's take a look at the schedule again, just to remind everybody, that's what we got. And I'm going to put the four fellows who are on set with me right now on the spotlight. The other guys get to dodge this question, but I'm going to ask the four guys who are with me. We're going to make our predictions for the season. And I want to not only know the wins and losses, the final record, regular season record, I want to know who you think Tennessee will lose to. So let's come back to the guys here, and I will start with Josh Ward. Josh, go ahead and show the folks what your pick is, why and who and when and where.
John, I would have preferred you to not start with me, but I have Tennessee 8-4.
Okay.
And the four losses, I have Alabama, Georgia, LSU, and if I could put an asterisk, I would, but I think it's one of several. Earlier in the show, you mentioned how people look at the schedule and say, I can't find a loss. I don't see them losing to this team. I don't see them losing to that team. Well, how many times have we had that conversation and they lose to one of those teams?
Yeah.
So I put South Carolina. It's late in the year. A lot of things can happen between now and then. You could deal with injuries. They could be better than expected. It's on the road. We went through some numbers on the road. Things can change.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to choose one that's unexpected, and South Carolina would be the unexpected.
Okay. So I think everybody's probably going to have Alabama, Georgia. Am I correct? Does everybody have Alabama,
Yes.
Georgia? Mm-hmm. Okay. So it's really the others that we see. So you got them at 8-4, and it's LSU and South Carolina are your two other losses. Let's go down to Chuck. What do you got?
Well, I'm Mr. Optimistic. I'm going to go 9-3.
Look at that. The casino.
Yes, the casino is going to go 9-3. And I tell you what, I like what Josh said, because I just got back from South Carolina, and the people there are pumped about being able to beat Tennessee late in the season. I just like Tennessee has been able to take care of business against a lot of these other teams. Of course, this is counting on that 4-0 start. If you don't get that 4-0 start, this pretty much goes out the window. But Jimmy's already said they can do it, so I'm feeling good about being able to finish it up.
Okay, so your other loss, Alabama, Georgia, and LSU?
Yes.
Okay, LSU. Very good. Jimmy.
You won't find any rain clouds over here. 9-3, baby.
Homer. Always a Homer. Wow, it matched perfectly with Chuck.
I do.
You don't want to change anything?
Bookends.
There you go.
Well, now, yeah. So
Sports bookends.
We've got that's right. Yeah. We've got the same losses: Alabama, Georgia, and LSU. I think Tennessee does start 4-0. They have the open date before they go to LSU, but I think LSU is going to be better than some expect. They've got so many transfers in. They got a better coach there. I think LSU is going to be a hard game for Tennessee.
And I'd just like to ask you the question, where was you born again?
I was born with purple and gold diapers on. No, I was born in Louisiana.
And that's when you were 2 months old, right?
You probably lived in Tennessee longer than you lived in Louisiana.
About far.
Close. There you go. Yeah. All right. So we got 9-3, 8-4, 9-3. I'm going to go 8-4. And my losses, I got LSU again. I just think you got a national level coach down there in Brian Kelly, tremendous football coach. You've got a roster that, as you mentioned, has been rebuilt with a lot of good transfers. That's one of those places when we showed you the numbers of home field advantage. That may be one where I would say that crowd, the way they act, that may be a legitimate home field advantage, regardless of how good the team is. That may be the one in the league that would scare, maybe the Swamp just due to the humidity. But LSU is in there. And then my other loss is Florida. I think Tennessee should probably beat them, but hey, 16 out of 17, what are we talking about? It's the same reason. It's the same reason I'm picking Tennessee to beat Kentucky. Kentucky always finds a way to lose to Tennessee. Tennessee always finds a way to lose to Florida. So I'm going to go 8-4, Alabama, Georgia, LSU, and Florida. And as we were doing this, Will and I were talking, And I'll just go ahead and hand this to you.
That's it, right there. It doesn't take much. Listen, like you, John, I mean, with this, it's Florida because I said, I'm not going to pick them until they actually do.
Yeah, believe it when you see it.
And so up until this
Oh, you
point,
don't boo the big boy here.
within arm's length.
No, really.
But two, I mean, with LSU, right? I mean, LSU has a defensive line, always has a great defense. I mean, you have to think with that tempo, that team, that's going to give you troubles. Your offense is not going to be clicking on all cylinders. So how are you going to do in a game where they get the ball back a lot? They're going to run the ball. They're always good up front. So they're going to try to pound and ground you. So that's the game that also doesn't match up well for this team.
I do like Tennessee's chances better if the LSU game is a noon kickoff.
Exactly.
Because the fans will not have a chance to prepare properly.
That's right.
All them Cajuns will be hung over, baby.
Yeah.
But it ain't going to be noon if Tennessee's 4-0.
What's the realistic best case scenario? I would say 10-2. Realistic best case scenario.
That would
Yeah.
be best case.
Yeah, best case.
Yeah.
What's the most realistic?
There's a 12-0 in the
I heard
background.
12
Yeah, again,
Peanut gallery.
take a guess.
That's like Bob said, that's 3-4 game winning streaks.
Notice who he had out here for this segment. If the fans would go, okay, 12-0.
Hey,
I'm not
don't
putting him out
sleep on Pitt. Is that what you're going to
there.
ask?
No, the next question is,
Worst.
what's the realistic worst case scenario?
7-5.
I think you do 6-6.
I think you could go 6. I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But I think realistic worst case, 6-6. Let's say Hendon Hooker gets hurt.
Exactly. That's
I just and let's say all those games again. No clunkers last year really until the bowl game, because people can sit here and say, well, we should have beaten Pitt. Pitt won the ACC. Pitt had a number 1 draft pick at quarterback. That was not a horrible blown defeat.
Right.
Clunker was the Purdue game at the end, and it's a bowl game, so guys were in, guys were out. You didn't have a clunker in the regular season. Hooker gets hurt, a couple other injuries along the offensive line. Your running backs, you run out of those running backs, or you just drop a clunker or two. Let's say South Carolina, let's say Missouri. This is a tough league. People get upset. I could see a worst case of 6-6, best case 10-2. But you say 7-5 is your worst case. What's yours?
6-6. I mean, it would be injuries that would get them to that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what you're looking at, because you do play South Carolina at the end of the year, and if you've gotten Hooker out and some other people are out, they can beat you.
Okay. Yeah. Very good. All right, we got to catch a break. When we come back, where does Tennessee stack up in the SEC? How many teams are between them and Alabama, Georgia? That'll be our question. Plus, we're going to play a little game with our VFLs. Will they or won't they regarding the Ball State game? That's next on the Sports Source. Come on back.